Everyone around you is celebrating, laughing, clinking glasses, filling rooms with noise. And you are sitting somewhere quiet, alone, watching it all from a distance, wondering if something is fundamentally wrong with you. You have tried to explain this feeling. Nobody quite understands it. You have tried to shake it off. It follows you like a shadow in the middle of the afternoon. But what if this ache, this unbearable silence pressing against your chest, what if it is not a punishment? What if it is a preparation? What if loneliness is not the end of your story, but the beginning of your real one? You have been taught to read loneliness as failure. The world is obsessed with crowds, with connection, with the performance of belonging. Scroll any feed, walk into any office, sit at any dinner table long enough, and you will feel the unspoken rule: being alone means being left behind. The isolated man is the broken man. The quiet woman is the one nobody chose. This is what civilization has whispered into your ear since you were old enough to listen, but civilizations have whispered many lies. There is a particular kind of person who is visited by loneliness more frequently than others. It is not the weak person. It is not the unlovable person. It is the person who has outgrown the version of themselves that the people around them are comfortable with. And that outgrowing is painful. Nobody tells you that growth does not feel like growth when you are inside it. It feels like loss. It feels like rejection. It feels like sitting in a room full of people and realizing with absolute clarity that none of them can reach you where you actually live. Thomas Shelby understood this long before the rest of the world had language for it. There is a man who walked through rooms full of people who feared him, admired him, needed him, and remained entirely, devastatingly alone inside every single one of those rooms. And he did not collapse under that weight. He used it. He converted it into something the world had never seen before. That is not an accident. That is alchemy. That is what certain people are built for. And the loneliness was never his curse. It was his curriculum. You are misreading the signal. The loneliness you are experiencing is not evidence that you are unwanted. It is evidence that you are being shaped for something that requires a person who has learned to stand inside silence without flinching. That is rarer than talent, rarer than intelligence, and almost nobody earns it without first walking the road you are walking right now. Here is what nobody tells you about the seasons of isolation you are moving through. They are doing something to you, something surgical, something irreversible in the best possible way. When the noise of other people is removed from your life, even involuntarily, even painfully, your mind is forced to stop performing and start processing. You cannot distract yourself forever. Eventually the silence wins. And in that silence, the real conversation begins. Not the conversation you have been rehearsing for other people, the one you have been avoiding with yourself. That conversation is uncomfortable because it is honest. It strips away the versions of you that were built for approval, the agreeable version, the small version, the version that shrunk itself to fit into spaces that were never actually designed for you. Loneliness burns all of that away with extraordinary efficiency. What is left after the burning is the structure, the bones of who you actually are without the costume of other people's expectations. Consider what Thomas Shelby represents in this regard. Here is a man who did not inherit his clarity. He forged it. Through war, through loss, through years of carrying weight that most people would have collapsed under, and the solitude that surrounded him. That impenetrable wall between him and every person who tried to reach him was not a prison. It was a forge. The heat was real. The pain was real. But what came out on the other side was a man of absolute, terrifying conviction. A man who knew exactly what he was, what he wanted, and what he was willing to pay for it. That kind of clarity does not come from comfort. It never has. Your loneliness is doing the same work. Right now, in the quiet that you cannot seem to escape, something is being refined in you. Your judgment is sharpening. Your tolerance for nonsense is shrinking. Your ability to see people and situations with accuracy, not with hope, not with projection, but with accuracy, is growing. You are becoming harder to fool, harder to manipulate, harder to distract with noise that does not matter. These are not small things. These are the exact qualities that separate the people who shape the world from the people who merely react to it. Let us be precise about something. You have not been alone because you are uninteresting. You have been alone because most people are not equipped to meet you where you are operating from. That is a distinction that matters enormously, and it is one that the world will almost never make on your behalf. You have to make it yourself. Think about every room you have ever walked into where you felt the subtle wrongness of it, the conversations that bored you within minutes, the relationships where you had to translate yourself constantly, where you felt the exhaustion of never being quite understood, no matter how clearly you tried to speak. You thought this was your failure. You thought you were the problem. Too intense, too complicated, too something. What you were actually experiencing was the collision between your frequency and the frequency of the people around you. Not every frequency matches. This is not poetry. This is physics. Thomas Shelby was never understood by the crowd, and he never needed to be. He understood the crowd. He could read a room the way other people read headlines, quickly, accurately, without sentiment. But he did not live for the room's approval. He lived inside a calculus that the room could not access, and that inaccessibility, that permanent gap between him and the mass of people surrounding him, was precisely what gave him his edge. You cannot be manipulated by the approval of people whose approval you do not require. You have been trying to close the gap between yourself and people who were never meant to understand you. That effort, however sincere, has cost you something precious. The energy that should have been spent going deeper into yourself. Every hour you spent trying to be legible to the wrong audience was an hour you did not spend building the version of yourself that the right audience will one day recognize immediately, completely, without explanation required. Stop translating yourself for rooms that were never going to read the language you speak. The crowd that never understood you was not your destination. It was a checkpoint, a filter. A mechanism the universe uses to separate the people who need external validation to function from the people who can generate their own. You survived that filter. That already tells you something important about who you are. There is a kind of power that only silence can produce. Not the silence of defeat. Not the silence of someone who has given up and has nothing left to say. The silence of someone who has decided that their words and their energy are resources, and they are choosing, deliberately and without apology, where to spend them. This is a power that most people never develop, because most people are terrified of silence. They fill it constantly, with opinions, with performance, with noise designed to confirm that they exist, that they matter, that they are being seen. The addiction to external confirmation is so pervasive that most people experience genuine discomfort in quiet rooms. They reach for their phones. They speak when they have nothing to say. They fill the air because the alternative, genuine, unmediated silence, forces a confrontation with themselves that they are not ready for. You have been forced into that confrontation, not by choice, at least not initially, but the confrontation is happening, and something on the other side of it is extraordinary. There is a famous quality to the way Thomas Shelby occupies a room. He does not rush to fill space. He does not perform for strangers. He sits inside silence with the ease of someone who has spent years in it, who has made peace with it, who has learned to use it as a lens rather than experience it as a void. When he speaks, it lands differently than when other people speak, not because of volume or drama, but because of what surrounds it. The silence that comes before and after a man who does not waste words carries weight that the man who speaks constantly can never produce. You are developing that quality right now. Every day you spend in the silence of your own company, every evening you move through without the noise of approval or distraction, you are conditioning yourself to be comfortable in the space that makes other people nervous. And that comfort, that unshakable, earned comfort with silence, will one day be the thing that sets you apart in every room you walk into. People will feel it before they understand it. They will sense that you are not operating from the same anxiety that drives most human behavior, that you are not looking to them for something, that you already possess something they cannot quite name. That possession is the product of what you are enduring right now. The silence is not empty. It is full. It is filling you with the exact qualities that the next chapter of your life is going to demand from you. Do not run from it. Sit in it. Let it finish its work. Here, is the particular cruelty and grace of the transformation you are undergoing. It happens in private. The world does not attend the ceremony. There is no audience for the moment when a person finally stops fighting their own depth and begins to inhabit it fully. It happens alone, in ordinary rooms, in ordinary moments that feel like nothing from the outside and feel like everything from the inside. You will not get applause for this. Not yet. The people around you, the ones who are still trying to understand why you seem different lately, why you have grown quieter, why you are no longer reaching for the things that used to satisfy you. They are witnessing the exterior of a process they cannot see. And because they cannot see it, they may pathologize it. They may worry about you. They may encourage you to come back to where you were, to be more social, to engage more, to be the old version of yourself that fit more neatly into their understanding of you. Do not go back. The old version of you was never the final version. It was an earlier draft. It served its purpose. It got you this far. But the version of you that is being forged right now, in the silence, in the loneliness, in the uncomfortable confrontation with your actual nature, that version is the one that will do the things the old version could only imagine. That version has been through something. That version has texture and depth, and a particular kind of gravity that only comes from having survived the thing you are currently surviving. Thomas Shelby did not become who he was by remaining comfortable. Every version of that man that the world feared and respected was built in a private crucible, away from witnesses, in the exact kind of interior solitude that looks from the outside like isolation. The transformation that forges a person capable of operating at the highest level of their own potential is never a public event. It is a private war, and the fact that you are in the middle of that war right now, alone, uncertain, feeling the weight of it, is not evidence that you are failing. It is evidence that the transformation is real, that it is happening, that you are, right now, in the middle of becoming someone extraordinary. There is a season on the other side of this. It does not look like what you imagined it would look like when you were younger and more naive about how transformation actually works. It is quieter than you expected, less dramatic, but it is more solid than anything you have ever stood on before, because it is built on something real, on a foundation of knowing yourself so completely, so honestly, that nothing from the outside can destabilize you. What comes after the solitude is selectivity. You stop being available to everything and everyone because you understand, with a clarity you have earned rather than borrowed, that your presence and your energy are not infinite resources to be distributed carelessly. You become precise about where you go, who you spend time with, what causes get your investment. This precision is not coldness. It is not arrogance. It is the natural behavior of someone who has spent real time understanding what actually matters to them versus what they were conditioned to pursue. What comes after the solitude is vision, not the vague, motivational poster variety of vision that gets posted and forgotten. Actual vision. The ability to see where you are going with enough clarity that you can make decisions in the present that would confuse everyone around you. Decisions that will only make sense to the people watching years from now, when the thing you saw from your vantage point of solitude has become visible to the rest of the world. This is how certain people seem to move before the music starts. They heard it earlier, in the quiet, when everyone else was too busy making noise to listen. Thomas Shelby's plans were always 5 steps ahead of the room he was sitting in. That was not genius in the conventional sense. That was the product of a mind that had been forced, by circumstance and by nature, to operate in interior spaces that most people never visit. The vision came from the solitude. The strategy came from the silence. The absolute, unflinching commitment came from the crucible of having been alone with himself long enough to know exactly what he stood for and exactly what he was capable of. What comes after your solitude is a version of you that has made that same reckoning, that knows what it stands for, that does not need to check with the room before making a decision, that moves with the particular, unmistakable confidence of someone who has already had the hardest conversation, the one with themselves, and survived it completely. So what do you do with this practically right now? In the life you are actually living, you stop apologizing for your solitude. To other people, yes, but more importantly to yourself. Every time you've felt ashamed of the fact that you are alone more than you think you should be, every time you have pathologized your own need for silence and depth, you've been spending energy on a war against yourself that you should have been spending on the building of yourself. That stops now. You begin treating your solitude as a resource, not a symptom, not a phase to be endured until the real life starts. A resource, the space where your sharpest thinking happens, the environment where your truest self can operate without interference. You protect it the same way you would protect anything valuable. You do not let it be colonized by noise or by people who do not understand its purpose. You also begin to trust the process you are inside, not blindly, not passively. Trust does not mean you sit still. It means you understand that the discomfort you are feeling is directional. It is moving you somewhere, and while you may not be able to see the destination from where you are standing, you can feel that the movement is real, that the change is real, that the person you are becoming is qualitatively different from the person who started this journey. That difference is proof enough. Keep moving. Stop measuring your life by the metrics of people who are living at a different depth than you. Their timelines are not your timeline. Their social calendars are not your benchmark. Their comfort with surface-level connection is not evidence that you are missing something by requiring more than that. You are not missing anything. You are simply built for a kind of depth that takes longer to cultivate, longer to find, and longer to express. But when it arrives, and it will arrive, it will be worth every quiet, lonely, transformative day you spent earning it. This is the truth that the noise of the world will never tell you. The people who changed history were not the ones surrounded by the most people. They were the ones willing to be surrounded by silence long enough to hear something true. You are in that silence right now. You are in the middle of the only transformation that actually matters. The one that happens inside, alone, without witnesses. Thomas Shelby did not ask for permission. He did not wait for approval. He walked through the fire and came out the other side knowing exactly who he was. So will you. Keep going.